Well, welcome back. The former FBI informant charged with lying about the Bidens has been rearrested. Alexander Smirnov was arrested last week in Nevada on charges of lying to the FBI, but he was released despite objections from the Justice Department. Well, he was taken back into custody yesterday on the same charges, according to his lawyers.
Prosecutors claim that Smirnov made the false allegation that both Joe Biden and his son Hunter accepted $5 million bribes from the owner of Ukrainian energy company Burisma. That false accusation forms the basis of the House Republicans' ongoing efforts to impeach the president. For more, let's bring in our senior legal analyst, Elie Honig. Elie, good morning to you. This is rare. I'm not sure if it's unprecedented, but super rare to go and rearrest when a court has already said, no, DOJ, you can't keep him.
Here's how unprecedented it is, Poppy. I've never seen it happen this way. And I just asked John Miller, who's seen everything. I said, have you ever seen this? He said, no, he hasn't. So here's the deal. Ordinarily, when you get arrested on a case like this, you have to bring the defendant to the closest judge, or in this case, magistrate, which is a sort of lower level federal judge. That's what they did. They brought this judge, this defendant to a magistrate in Nevada. Prosecutor said you have to lock him up pending trial. He's too much of a flight risk. And the magistrate disagreed. He said, I'm going to release him with conditions, but I'm okay releasing him, take his passports, put him on electronic monitoring. Ordinarily, the next step then as a prosecutor is you wait for the person to arrive at their assigned district judge, in this case in California. That usually takes a week or so. Prosecutors were not willing to wait that long. Instead, they went to the judge. They said, we need a new warrant. They rearrested him on the same charge, and now he's in custody. This tells me that prosecutors are absolutely terrified that this guy may take off. This is a very extreme measure designed to try to get him in custody.
Can I ask, there's been so much talk about, and rightfully so, the politics and impeachment and what this all means. What kind of legal liability does he have, right? What's he facing?
So technically, the max sentence he's facing adds up to 25 years based on a series of false statements and creation of false documents. But nobody gets anything near 25 years. But this is very serious. I mean, look, it happens sometimes. I'm not making an excuse. I mean, it's a reality of life that confidential informants like this guy go off the rails. It's the FBI's responsibility to try to make sure that doesn't happen. But when it happens, you have to make a decision. Are we charging this guy? And the fact that they're charging this guy shows me that they believe, A, he lied, B, in a clear, provable way, and C, about an event of enormous consequence.
Can I ask you about some of the Republicans that are skeptical of this arrest, of this indictment, all of it? This is Republican Congressman William Timmons. Here's what he said.
You know, I think it's interesting that the FBI didn't investigate the allegations made years ago, and now they've indicted the confidential source that they trusted for years and paid him hundreds of thousands of dollars. So, you know, there's a lot of questions I have regarding that.
Are those questions worth asking?
There are questions worth asking about how the FBI got burned so badly, for sure. But, I mean, the allegations are pretty clear-cut. They'll have to prove them in court now. But if you look at the documents around the case, it's clear that this guy lied to the FBI about, he said he was in meetings with people at times and places when he could not have possibly been in meetings with those people. They disproved what he said by looking at documentary evidence. But yes, it's a black eye for the FBI. Again, it happens, but it's an embarrassment. And especially when you have a high profile, not high profile, but a CI who's giving you very high profile information like this, you have to be extra careful. So I do think it's fair to ask the FBI, how did you let this go so far off the rails?
The former president's legal team had several filings last night related to the classified documents case. One of them, I think at least one of them, citing federal immunity, which is also another case that people are paying attention to right now. What did you make of this?
So this is the sort of ordinary time when the defendant would file motions. A lot of these are motions that were expected. The immunity motion, I share your sort of quizzical approach to this. Like, how could he be immune in the documents case? Because the documents case, if you look in the indictment, that starts at 12:01 p.m. on January 20th, 2021, because it's not a crime for Donald Trump to have those documents until he leaves office. So how could he possibly be immune for crimes that happened after he left office? Now, Trump's team tries to thread a needle here. They get a little creative. They say, well, the whole decision-making process about whether to take documents, that happened while he was there. That is, I mean, look, I think the immunity argument on the January 6th case is already a stretch and likely doomed. We may learn today if the Supreme Court's taking that or not, but at least there's a colorable argument there. This one is a stretch beyond stretches and has no chance of success.
Elie Honig, thank you, friend.
Thanks, guys.
We appreciate it. The former FBI informant indicted for lying about President Biden's family is in jail. On Tuesday, Alexander Smirnov was released by a magistrate judge in Nevada under several conditions. Those included GPS monitoring and the surrender of his passports.
But yesterday, his lawyer said he was rearrested, quote, on the same charges and based on the same indictments. CNN chief law enforcement and intelligence analyst John Miller joins us now. I'm sorry, what? Why?
So picture the scene, right? I'm Alexander Smirnov, international man of mystery at the center of the alleged $5 million bribe scandal to Joe Biden. I'm sitting in my lawyer's office, and there's a knock at the door, and it's the FBI. And here's Smirnov, his lawyer, David Chesnoff. They're like, Alexander Smirnov, you're under arrest. We have an arrest warrant. We are commanded to arrest you. And they're like, yeah, we know that, okay? He's already been arrested. Like, we're arresting him again. On new charges? No, on the same charges. Guys, I know this is fun, but you just can't keep arresting somebody over and again. And they're like, we have a different warrant from a different judge on the same charges. So what the FBI did was the magistrate set bail, saying, look, he's not a danger to the community. He's not a mob hitman. He's not a gang leader. Yes, he's a political lightning rod, but that's a political problem, not a public safety one. So I'm going to give him an ankle bracelet, and we're going to, secure some bond and let him out. They went to the trial judge in California and said, we want to bring him right to you and have a new bail hearing because you're the trial judge. You're the one he's going to have to show up for. So they got this arrest warrant. His attorney has filed papers to hear all that out, but I can't remember quite seeing anything like this. And, the government is very serious about it. In their original application, these words are, there is no set of conditions or combination of conditions that can reasonably assure the return of Alexander Smirnov to court.
What does this indicate to you about how dead set the FBI is on keeping this guy behind bars right now?
So this isn't just the FBI. It is, but it's also the special counsel, who we should remind people is a Republican-appointed prosecutor who became the special counsel on the Biden case, who are worried that a guy who's sitting on $6 million in his accounts, $3 million in his wife's accounts, with an Israeli passport and a U.S. passport, and contacts high up in the Russian intelligence services, could flee the United States, end up resettled with the KGB or the GRU in Russia, and become a propaganda tool where he starts repeating the same lies that he was just arrested for the FBI. So it's complicated, but the judge's point is, yeah, complicated, scandalous, but is it really dangerous?
That's fascinating.
Yeah. What do you think's gonna? Do you think it's gonna stay behind bars?
It's trying to read the next judge. Is they're gonna argue? David Chesnoff will probably make an argument similar to the one I just made, which is he's not a danger to the public, and we need him to prepare for his defense. We'll see how that goes with Judge Otis.
John Miller, thanks.